differently.
Welcome back, and you're watching Able Differently. With the new registration system for the National Council for Persons with Disabilities cards now rolled out, Acorn Special Tutorials organized a mass registration drive. Take a look.
We are currently having the registration for children with disabilities, persons with disabilities, with the National Council of Persons with Disabilities.
One of the mandates of the council is to register persons with disabilities.
We did a registration late last year, the same kind of registration. However, the council has come up with new categories, and the registration that we did, we were not migrated into the new system. So it has required for us to actually now re-register.
Initially, we had a registration system that right now has been changed. We've had new assessment guidelines that have been reviewed from the previous ones. And coming up with these new guidelines, we were assembled at Mombasa, a team of the medical personnel, the council, and different personnel from the medical department, the orthopedic surgeons, the physiotherapists, and we were able to sit down and look at the assessment guidelines and see what needs to be added and what needs to be reviewed. So from this year, we've started a new registration system. The old registration system, the website has been totally changed. We were able to include other types of disabilities, and also we are trying to make the system work better.
The aim of the assessment is basically to look at what you have in terms of, for example, deformity, disability, structurally as a person with disability. How are you? And then we look at if you have a disability, then how does it interfere with the participation in terms of the activities of daily living, in terms of the activities that you carry out, and therefore look at you and determine also, for example, if you have an eye problem, if you are a person with epilepsy, if you are a person with, for example, a physical disability, maybe you got amputated, how is the limb length? So there are so many determinants for us to declare that you are a person with disability. So we have to do a physical assessment. After the physical assessment, we now come and look at the activity participation. How does the problem you have, how does it interfere with the participation in terms of activities? And therefore then we advise the National Council whether you qualify to be registered as a person with disability or not, depending on how we find, we do all the parameters. You look at things like what we call joint range of motion, you look at things like manual muscle testing, how strong are you? So there are so many parameters that you look at before you can advise the National Council that yes, this is a person who should be registered as a person with disability.
Joel was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2 years. We had gone to Kenyatta Hospital, and we were concerned about some of his delays like speech, and he also had hyperactivity. So we visited Dr. Muni at Kenyatta Hospital, and he was diagnosed with autism. Joel is a student at Acorn School, where teacher Eva notified us about the registration.
Niko na kijana mwenye umri wa miaka 10 na kuna hali ya usonji. Hii ni hali ambayo mtoto hupatikana nayo wakati wa kuzaliwa na huwa inaathiri sehemu ya kushoto ya akili. Usonji kwa Kiingereza ni ama kimombo ni autism. Nimeamua kumregister kwa sababu hii umri ambayo yuko na anaelekea atahitaji msaada wa serikali juu anakaribia utu uzima. Kwa hivyo atahitaji kujumuika na serikali na mambo kadhaa ya kujisimamia.
We acknowledge the importance of having our children and everyone with special needs registered with the National Council of People Living with Disabilities, and we are happy to be part of the team.
We have adults who have come in because what we are trying to do is to sensitize the community on issues of disabilities and giving them information on what their benefits are. So even for adults who have disabilities and they have never been registered with the council, we invited them. We sent out word that they need to come in. Why? Because of the benefits that they get from the card. Once you are an adult with a card and you're working, you are tax exempted. Yeah, you can bring in cars duty-free or whatever you need duty-free for your own assistive device. You can get assistive devices. A lot of adults don't know this, especially adults that have acquired the disability. Yeah, maybe through an accident you've become blind, through anything. Usually it's accidents.
Kenyans, we are not so much aware about autism, so most of us don't know that it's a disability. Because people keep telling you that is speech delay, it will come with time, hyperactivity will. So you keep thinking it's something that will come and go. You don't classify it as a disability. But with time, I came to know learn more about autism through therapies that I've done at Kenyatta Hospital, and I was now aware that it's a disability.
We have tried to create an environment where people come and they feel safe, and we have called all the medics in one place so they don't have to go all over the place. So we've called the medics from the Ministry of Health, and we have the National Council right here. So once the assessments are done and their forms are filled in, their forms will be taken as a bunch. So now the follow-up will be upon Acorn and ASNEN to follow up for them. So the parents don't have to go around looking for it. We will get the confirmation, then we will be able to distribute to them.
What makes it easier for me here is that I will come with my child here at Acorn. First of all, my child will be contained in the compound. You can imagine going to register from office to office with a child like mine who is diagnosed with hyperactivity. You know, he'll keep running up and down. So that way it will make it so difficult for me to sit down and settle, register. The process can take for like the whole day.
We have encountered parents, not necessarily who have Turner syndrome, but we have encountered other children who have special needs, and the parents are not able to access any support from the council. And the challenges that they are facing may be access to the council based on where they live, their location generally. And so we felt that if we could come into a central location like Acorn Special Tutorials, then and bring the services to them, then it would be easier for them to have the registration and eventually get their cards.
If you are a person, for example, with visual impairment, in the field we may not be able to know how is your visual accuracy, how much can you be able to see. So we refer you to an ophthalmologist so that they can do the parameters and then they do a medical report. And that is why even as we go out to the field, we always advise the person with disabilities, please go to your specialist. For example, if you are a person with disability with a mental disability, you need to go to a psychiatrist so that there is a thorough assessment that is done, and the psychiatrist will do a medical report, which now when you come, we will fill the medical disability assessment form and attach that report. So it's very, very important for those specialties to have seen you.
This kind of outreach program that is done in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, it becomes accessible and it's convenient enough for the clients. Getting assessment, someone has to go all the way to the hospital, get assessed by the medical team, get the form to Afia House. It's all tedious, it's a bit tedious, but coming to the ground level and organizing such kind of an event, it makes it easier for more people to come together and access the services of registration. When someone is assessed by the medical personnel, like in this case we're having a mass registration, the forms will go to the Ministry of Health, Afia House, for the approval and the stamping by the Director of Medical Services. So from the Ministry of Health, Afia House, they will be brought back to the National Council office where we are going to do a data entry, and from there that's where we are going to do the printing of the cards. At the moment we've still not produced the digital cards. We are using the waiting cards, which have the registration numbers that are captured in our system.
When you look at the new guidelines, they have really expanded the scope of disability. Because you find initially we didn't have things like chronic conditions. So right now in the new guidelines, there is what we call progressive chronic conditions, which have now been included to form to be persons with disabilities. For example, if you have cancer, now you can be registered with the national as a person with disability. So there are so many. We have also expanded in terms of even the areas that we are looking at. If it is physical disabilities, we have been looking at that it has really to interfere with your functioning. But right now, looking at the new guidelines, there are also so many other conditions that have been brought in that were otherwise being rejected in the previous dispensation. So I think there is more understanding in terms of what would form a disability and what would not form a disability.
What this does is that it creates visibility to disabilities. So people are aware now that there are places that they can go to and get support. Yeah, and also the parents through the National Council will get support for their children's assistive devices, education, yeah, and very many other things that they did not know about. So even as we are registering, the parents, they will have somebody from National Council who is continuously giving information on why register with the National Council.
With this new system, I think we've put more measures to make sure that these cards are not duplicated, these cards are not misused, and we've come up with the digital form of the card. And that's why we are urging the public, even if someone was registered in the past and they have in the old registration cards, we are still renewing those cards. Apart from the fresh registrations, we are also doing new registrations.
The good thing about the system right now is that it actually covers all the categories of disabilities. Yeah, before they had only 4, but now even children with Down syndrome have their own category, autism, cerebral palsy. So it is very good because it is very specific.
What I would plead with the Kenyans is just to try and understand people with disabilities and try and treat them with more human and respect, because they are children like any other. And I was also wished to request the governments to add more institutions for people with disabilities, because our children are lacking schools.
Akona hali ambayo haiambatani na masomo ya ile ambayo watoto wengine wanasoma. So he's a special kid na anahitaji mwalimu ambaye atamuelewa kwanza ndiposa akaweza kumfundisha.
We have seen a lot of parents especially hiding children. Let them take them out first of all for therapy. Let us determine how far they can be trained to achieve some of the areas that they have not attained, because some of the people we hide could be very important people in the Republic in future if they are given opportunities. For the general public, let's change the attitudes towards people with disabilities. Let us form positive attitudes. They are part of us, they are Kenyans, and they have every right. Now, today, disability is a rights issue. It's no longer a favor that we are doing to them. So let us come together, people with disabilities, every other person in the community, let us support people with disabilities.
Let's take a look at the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
Article 25 of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities states that state parties shall, Part B, provide those health services needed by persons with disabilities, specifically because of their disabilities, including early identification and intervention as appropriate, and services designed to minimize and prevent further disabilities, including among children and older persons.
And here is the tip for the day.
Turner syndrome is a congenital condition that affects only the girl child. A child with Turner syndrome is born with a deficiency of growth hormones. They are smaller in body size. They have stunted growth. They also do face different developmental delays and learning disabilities. Yeah, so you might find a child with Turner syndrome who is 5.5 and she's not able to speak. Her speech is delayed. Sometimes they start walking very late in life. And also we have issues to do with weight gain. They also do experience frequent ear infections, and if these infections are not treated early, it leads to hearing losses. Parents who have children with Turner syndrome, the greatest challenge they do encounter is access to growth hormones. Growth hormones are not available here locally, and so they have to import the drugs. So we we feel that if we are part of the National Council of People Living with Disabilities, we're able in one way or another to benefit from the packages that are offered by the council.
We've come to the end of the show for today, but be sure to join us every other Sunday when time and space allows. I've been your host, Jen Theory. Goodbye.
We are here and we are strong. Let's be counted as we move on. Make a difference, change lives as we tell our different stories. We are capable, beautiful. We are born to do great things. We're unstoppable, incredible, 'cause we're differently abled, differently.